All right, so you ever find yourself standing in the shaving aisle just, I don't know, overwhelmed?
Totally get it. It's like, how many blades does one face really need?
Exactly. It feels like we're being bombarded with these five-blade razors, and honestly, part of me wonders if it's all just a marketing ploy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a certain appeal to the simplicity of a single blade, historically speaking. But the marketing around these multi-blade cartridges, it definitely tugs at your inner techie, like, ooh, more blades much equal a better shave.
Right.
Totally.
Like upgrade your shave game, which, let's be real, most of us just grew up with these cartridge razors, so it's all we really know. But in this deep dive, we're actually switching gears. We're taking a look at this article from My Adventures in Tech, where the author goes on this whole journey, ditching those familiar cartridges for, wait for it, safety razors.
Yeah, and the cool thing is he's not coming at it from like a grooming expert perspective. He's a self-proclaimed tech enthusiast, kind of like our listeners, so it makes his experience super
For
relatable.
real, for real. He even admits, like, at first, he totally bought into the whole cartridge razor hype.
Oh, yeah, because that initial experience when you pop in a brand new cartridge, it can be kind of amazing. Like the marketing isn't totally wrong. You get that smooth shave, at least for a little while.
Okay, but then the honeymoon phase ends, right? And that's where things get interesting. The author, Paulo, he's brutally honest about the downsides of cartridge razors, starting with the cleaning process, or lack thereof.
Oh my gosh, right. It's like trying to navigate a tiny hair-filled jungle gym with all those blades crammed together. You think you're getting a clean shave, but who knows what's lurking in those crevices?
And that can't be good from a hygiene standpoint either.
Not at all. All those little nooks and crannies become breeding grounds for bacteria. No wonder we end up with irritation and bumps.
Ugh, it's like those razors are working against us, not for us. And don't even get me started on the environmental impact. All that plastic.
Yeah, talk about a reality check. Paulo brings up a good point. Even with recycling programs, we're still churning out an insane amount of plastic cartridge waste. That makes you wonder about the whole greenwashing thing, right?
Like, is recycling really the solution or just a way for companies to feel better about the problem they're creating?
Exactly.
Okay, so you ready for a blast from the past? Because with all this talk about cartridge razors, we have to talk about their old school counterpart, the double-edged razor, the safety razor. Paulo even talks about his grandfather using one.
And this is where the deep dive gets really interesting because this seemingly ancient technology with just one blade might actually be the key to a better shave.
Hold on, for real. A single blade. How's that even possible when we've been conditioned to think we need like a million microblades for a close shave?
It all comes down to the mechanics. See, those multi-blade cartridges, they're designed to cut the hair below the surface of your skin. Sounds great in theory,
Uh,
but it can lead to some not so fun side effects like ingrown hairs and irritation. Now, a double-edged razor, when you use it right, cuts closer to the skin surface, giving you a closer shave but with less irritation.
so it's like working with your skin instead of against it.
Exactly. Plus, there's that whole sustainability factor again. Single blade, replaceable, no more plastic cartridges piling up. And guess what? Often more cost effective in the long run, too. No more breaking the bank for those fancy cartridges.
So what I'm hearing is maybe we've been a little misled. Like this whole multi-blade thing, not all it's crapped up to be.
Right. And that's where Paolo's experience, it really got me thinking. Because he talks about how those multi-blade razors, over time, they were actually causing more problems. Ingrown hairs, specifically.
Ugh, yeah. Tell me about it. But I'm still kind of stuck on this. More blades equal more ingrown hairs. How does that even happen?
It's all about how those blades interact with your skin. Remember how we were saying the cut below the surface?
Yeah.
Well, that can create these super sharp tips on the hairs. And when the hair starts to grow back, those sharp tips, way more likely to curl back under the skin. Cue the painful, annoying bumps.
Okay, that makes sense. So with a single blade, less of that whole digging below the surface thing.
Exactly. Gentler approach, way less chance of those pesky ingrown hairs.
Okay, you've convinced me. I'm sold. Safety razor it is. But like,
Oh,
where do you even begin? I mean, Paulo's got this whole collection of razors. He's like a connoisseur.
right. And this is where his inner techie really shines. He breaks down each razor, comparing features, performance, like it's the latest smartphone or something. It's pretty awesome, actually.
Okay, so hit me with it. Paulo's shaving arsenal. Let's break it down, starting with, the familiar. The cartridge razor.
Okay, so he's still got his trusty Gillette Mach 3, just as a point of reference, what he was used to. But he does point out those cartridges, not cheap, like 2.83 euros a pop.
Oof, that adds up, especially if you're shaving every day. So what else is he working with?
Next up, we've got the King C Gillette, a double-edged safety razor built to last, and it's all metal.
Ooh, fancy.
Right. This thing is going to last him forever, plus way more sustainable than plastic cartridges.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Safety razors, it's all about quality over quantity.
100%. But Powell also wanted to see if maybe, just maybe, newer tech could compete with the classics. So he tried the Henson AL13, modern take on the safety razor, all these high-tech materials, sleek design.
Sounds impressive. How'd it perform?
Not bad. But Powell found it a bit too light. And cleaning it was kind of a pain compared to the simpler designs.
So it's like with a lot of things, sometimes the classics are classics for a reason.
Totally. And I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners. Choosing a razor, it's not one size fits all. What works for Paulo might not work for everyone. It's about, understanding the options, what works for your skin, your beard, all that good stuff.
So it really is a personal journey, like finding the perfect pair of jeans or something. But okay, we can't move on without talking about Pella's shaving routine.
Yeah.
Because this guy doesn't just shave, he's got a whole ritual. Pre-shave creams, alum blocks, the works.
And that's what I love about this article.
Yeah.
Because those extra steps, that whole ritualistic element, it actually makes a difference.
Okay, so break it down for us. What's the science behind a good shaving routine?
Well, let's take the alum block, for example. Paulo talks about using it after he shaves, and I'll admit at first I thought, is this like an old-timey thing? But it turns out alum has these astringent properties.
Okay, so in English.
Basically, it helps stop bleeding from any little nicks or cuts, and it can actually soothe razor burn.
No way. I thought that was just like an old wives' tale or something. It makes you realize they were onto something back in the day.
Totally, and I think that's something we've kind of lost sight of with our modern obsession with convenience.
Right, like faster is always better.
Exactly. But whether you're using a cartridge razor, a safety razor, heck, even a straight razor, taking your time makes a world of difference.
It's like slow food, but for your face.
Exactly. It's about the experience, not just the end result. And honestly, that's something I really appreciate about Paulo's whole philosophy here.
Me too. It's not about which razor is better. It's about realizing that something as simple as shaving, it can actually be an act of self-care.
Couldn't agree more. Finding what works for you, whether that's a 10-step routine or a quick shave before work, it's all good.
Ugh.
The important thing is to be informed and to enjoy the process.
And hey, if you find yourself suddenly geeking out over different types of shaving cream, no judgment here.
None whatsoever.
Actually, speaking of geeking out, Paulo mentions discovering this whole community of shaving enthusiasts online. Like YouTube channels, forums, all dedicated to, well, shaving.
Makes sense, right? Once you start digging into it, there's a lot to learn. The history, the different techniques, it's fascinating.
So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to maybe up their shaving game, don't be afraid to experiment. Try something new. You might just discover a hidden passion for, like, perfectly lathered shaving cream or something.
Or the satisfying weight of a well-balanced razor.
Exactly. The possibilities are endless.